Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is kind of the social side of BNI Connect, or the networking side of BNI Connect. What we're going to do is look at really how we can interact with other people around the world using BNI Connect, how we can find people, how we can connect with them, just like in LinkedIn and many other online social network platforms. We can show how we can give other people testimonials, and we're going to go through how we can actually interact with people using the groups function, the discussion groups. Before we get started, just a couple of really quick housekeeping things. First of all, if you happen to be with me here live today on March 15th, 2017, you have the distinct honor and privilege of being on a live webinar. So that means that as we're going through this webinar today, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask those questions. And the way to do that is to type your question in to the questions panel. I'll see that pop up on my screen, and I can answer those as we're going along. If you happen to be listening to this via recording, we do record all of our webinars, by the way. You can still submit questions by by sending an email to support@bniconnect.com or submitting a request on the support site, which you access by clicking on the question mark. As I mentioned, we are recording this session, and it will be made available soon, as soon as I can get them converted and uploaded to YouTube. We have a channel there. It's youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. And as I said, you can also find it in the live and recorded webinars section of our support site. So let's go ahead and get started here with the kind of networking side of BNI Connect. So first things first, we did review a lot of stuff on the home page here yesterday. In order to access some of these other components, we have to go to a different page in BNI Connect. Now, before we do that, just a very quick reminder, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we had our whole webinar on Monday about how to fill out your profile. But if you haven't done so yet, make sure that you fill out your profile. And the reason for that is that one of the things we're going to talk about is really connecting with other members. And that means that as people are finding you and offering you connections, nobody wants to connect with a gray-faced avatar. They want to connect with a real live human being. So very quick Reader's Digest review. Click on Update Profile, My BNI page right up here. And your task is to pretty much go through all of the tabs, and where you see an empty field, fill something out. Most importantly, on the second tab, make sure that you're uploading a picture and a logo. And on the Settings tab, make sure that you're sharing your contact details with everyone. That way, when they come across your profile, they'll see your address and phone number and things like that right away. And then back on the first tab, make sure you have your My Business and the keywords. And again, the keywords, as you'll see in a few minutes as we're searching for people, the keywords really are ultimately important because that's how people find you when they don't know your name. Now, everything on this page, on all of these pages, including your logo and your bio and things like that, they all update instantaneously as soon as you click the Update button. Keywords are the only thing that we keep those in a special database that gets refreshed once every half hour. So if you do update your keywords right now while we're talking, it won't be until about 33 minutes from now that that keyword becomes active. Everything else, though, updated right away. All right, so let me go back to the home screen here. As I said, I didn't want to spend too much time on that. Just a quick Reader's Digest review in case anybody missed that webinar on Monday. So as I said, this is where all of the stuff happens here. The networking side of things, or the social side of things, we access on the left-hand side. You should have this little ribbon. And this ribbon right now is highlighting My BNI Business, which is all this business activity. In order to access the networking side of things, click on My Network. And this will bring you down to the different kind of social interactions here in the system. So you can see here it's broken into like 6 tiles along the top. We have our connections. Now connections in BNI Connect, this is kind of your personal BNI address book. And what it's meant to do is to store people that you've met along the way in your BNI adventure. By default, you will start out with being connected to all of the people in your chapter. So those connections are automatic. As new people come into your chapter, you'll be automatically connected with them. As people leave your chapter, you'll be automatically disconnected from them. However, as you meet people or as you find people in BNI Connect, you can also connect with them. It is a opt-in system, so you do have to accept your connection request, but that opportunity is there to connect with other BNI members around the world. And there are 200,000 BNI members around the world. So that's the connections. The next one over here is the groups. Now the groups function is going to be, they're discussions. So there are all these groups. There's like 500 groups, I think, in BNI Connect right now that are discussions about just about anything you can think of. So, there's one for, BNI florists. There's one for, architects in BNI and lawyers in BNI. And, it's where you can opt into these discussions and really talk your trade with other BNI members in that category around the world. Sometimes it's, you have a problem and you need that problem solved and you can post a question there. Sometimes it's actually passing business back and forth over BNI borders. It's absolutely wonderful. So that's the groups function. Now the next thing over is the documents. The documents are localized to your area, and really that's a way that your executive director and your regional team can share files with all of the chapters and the members. So what you see on your screen is not going to be what I'm showing on my screen. It's going to be what your executive director and your director consultants and your regional admin have uploaded into BNI Connect to share with other members in your area. The next one, I'm going to go back over to the left, and the next one down is testimonials. You can receive and give testimonials in BNI Connect with people that you're connected with. So once you've connected with somebody, you want to say something nice about them, or you want to give a testimonial to somebody in your chapter, you can do that and it will display on their profile. Events, these are various training events. They could be networking opportunities that are in your area as well. Anything from member success programs to networking nights or leadership team roundtables and advanced trainings, and all sorts of things are there in the events. You can either go here and see them in a list format, or if you go to your regional website, you can see a calendar format. The last thing here is the messaging, and this, just to be very clear about this, this is an internal messaging system. So it's a means of sending messages that are in BNI Connect to other people that you're connected with. A lot of times people confuse this with an email my chapter function. This is not an email your chapter. You can message your chapter this way, and everybody will get that message, but they won't see it until they log into BNI Connect. So don't make that mistake of trying to send an important message out to your chapter and wondering why nobody read it, because you do have to log into BNI Connect and in order to see that message. Unless, of course, you have your email forwarding turned on your profile. All right, so those are the various connections. So you can come over to this My Network page and you can access any of them here. Or you can also get into a lot of these places by this network option up here at the top. So if you're somewhere else in the system, if I wanted to go see my connections, for example, I could click on Manage here under Connections. Or I could go up from any other page, go to Network Connections. And as I mentioned, the connections is really, it's your personal address book, your little black book of networking, if you will. You can see here I have about 500 connections in here. I can scroll through them on the left-hand side, or I can scroll through them on the right-hand side. I can click on somebody, for example, Barty Bryant. He's a director consultant down in the Virginia area. And if I click on Barty's name or his picture, this will pull up a kind of consolidated mini version of his profile. So it's more of an address card than it is a full profile. But I can see here that he's in the ultimate chapter, what he's working on, his address, his email, et cetera, et cetera. I then have some options down here. I can send him a message. I can ask him for a testimonial, or I could give him a testimonial. I can view his full profile, or I can remove him from my connections. Now, as I said, as people drop out of BNI, they will be automatically removed from your connections. And if I wanted to see his full profile, I could just click this, and this will bring me over to see more about Barty. And we can see the video here now. We can see all of his contact information. I could also review his weekly presentations and his profiles. I can see the people that he's connected with. I can see and read his testimonials. There is a photo library, but he's not sharing any photos at the moment. And he's not partaking in any groups. But great way, one thing as well is that I can go to the profiles of anybody he's connected with by looking at his connections. And for example, I can go and look at Elliot's profile. Now, unlike LinkedIn, where you're limited to go one or two, or I think it's 2 or 3 layers deep, you can actually just keep clicking through connections here as deep as you'd like to go. All right, so let me go back to network connections. Now, as I said, it is an opt-in system. So as people are finding you in BNI Connect, you do have to accept their connection requests. And you can accept somebody's request by going to received requests down here. And here you'll see I have 2 different requests. I can either do select all and just connect to them right away, or if I want to, for example, read Clara's message here before accepting it. Clara is actually in BNI in the Netherlands, so I've known her for quite some time. I can choose to accept that or ignore it. So if I accept the connection request, Clara will become one of my connections and my list will go to 564. If I reject that request, it turns that request down, but Clara could send me another connection request in the future. If you ignore the request, I'd be very careful about this one, but if you ignore a request, this request will be forever hidden and they can't send you another one. So if there is somebody that, you definitely don't want to be connected with, but they keep requesting, that would be how to fully ignore them forever. So be careful with that one, please. I'm going to go ahead and accept Clara's connection. So now I have 1 less received request and my connections went to 564. Now I can read the message on this one as well. I can also go back, and if I click on the picture here, that will take me to his profile so I can review his information before I connect with him. Of course, if I had multiple connections, I could click select all and connect with all of the people in that list. So what if you want to actually add people to your connections? You want to go and find people around the world to connect with. Well, we can do that either from here. So we can, if we're in our connections already, click on Add Connection. If I'm back on my network page, under Connections, I can hit the Add button. So that's the second way to do it. Now there's a third way. From any screen in BNI Connect, there's this magnifying glass here in the upper right-hand corner. So this is what I use most of the time, is this magnifying glass, and I can click that, and it will take me to the global directory search. And again, this is a global directory of everybody that is in BNI around the world. And again, we are in 72 countries around the world. We have over 210,000 members globally. This also includes people that might not be a member. They could be your executive director. It also includes people like Dr. Meisner, the founder. He has a profile in BNI Connect, of course. Our CEO, Graham Miller. Everybody in BNI has a profile in BNI Connect, so you can connect with people from around the world. So I find this really cool because, one of the things in my role here in BNI is that I get to go and visit a lot of really cool places that have BNI chapters. And quick example of that, I was in the Netherlands a couple of years ago, and I got to go to a chapter meeting in the Netherlands. And you know what? I couldn't understand a thing of what they were talking about at that meeting because Dutch doesn't sound anything at all like English. But I could see that, they were doing the same exact BNI meeting that we do every week. They had the open networking. They were, doing their education moment. They had their weekly presentations. I could even tell who was prepared for their weekly presentation and who was just winging it. They passed referrals. They were just as happy to receive referrals as we are. They even, had a door prize and a referral reality check, and they had a membership committee after the meeting. So all of these things, they build to an accountability system. So when it comes to making referrals, I will always try to use the services or refer the services of a BNI member no matter where, because I know they all have the same high level of accountability. So for example, let's say I'm looking for a plumber in Pittsburgh. My aunt and uncle in Pittsburgh, they were having some trouble and they're pulling their hair out. Oh, I don't know. Anybody know a good plumber in the area? Well, half of Facebook usually jumps in on that. But I could go and look for a plumber in, oops, I hit enter too fast, Pittsburgh. Right, so if I look for a plumber in Pittsburgh, this is going to show me all of the plumbers in Pittsburgh. So I can click on their names. I could check out their profile. Now, this is why it's important to make sure you have a picture. People are more likely to connect with somebody that has a profile picture up there than they are. But you can also see that, unfortunately, Chad isn't sharing his contact information. Now, I could go through the trouble of hunting down his website and things like that, but this is what most people do. They go on to the next person in the list. And we have the same thing. All right, so we may strike out with a plumber in Pittsburgh here. Oh, so apparently the plumbers are too busy, so they're not sharing any of their contact information. But I could send them a connection request. That would send them a notice saying that I'd like to connect with them, and then perhaps they'd be willing to share their contact information. Of course, if you know somebody's name, the easiest thing to do is to look for somebody by name. For example, if I was to look up Ivan Meisner, I could then see Dr. Meisner's profile. And I'm already connected with him, but he loves to connect with members. So if you see an add Ivan to my connections, feel free to send him a connection request. You can also, next to somebody's name, you see this plus sign here. You could always click the plus sign if you already know who the person is. There is also an advanced search. So especially for people that have common names, or they may have, two first names, so to speak, or anything like that, you can always go in and use the advanced search. And this means that you can choose specific industries, for example, or only look for people in a certain country. Or that's especially helpful if you're looking for, if you're, let's say, traveling overseas and looking to connect with people in that country in your profession. That's a great way to do that, is to narrow this search down. For example, I was just helping somebody in support the other day because they're going to Taiwan and they wanted to find people in health and wellness. So we did a search for health and wellness in Taiwan, and we got a number of different entries, and we were working with some of the members in this area in order to get connected with them before her trip. All right, so that is the connections interface. So now with connections, you can also, as I said, leave people testimonials, and that part of it's pretty easy to do. The testimonials are actually done through the connections. If you want to review your testimonials, you can go into the testimonials section by clicking Manage, or go to Network Testimonials. Here you can review anybody that's given you a testimonial. You can choose whether or not it's displayed on your profile. You could also choose to delete that testimonial if you want to. You can review testimonials that you've given to other people. And also, if people have requested a testimonial, you can review that testimonial request. If you want to give somebody a testimonial, you do have to go over to your connections interface. So you can click on that connections toggle button there, or you can go to Network Connections and you choose the person from your contact list that you'd like to give a testimonial to. And you can give the person a testimonial. It's pretty straightforward. It's really just a paragraph of text here that you can fill out and click Submit. Obviously, I'm not going to submit that one. So the final thing I want to show you guys today is the groups. And the groups really is where you can start to have conversations with people around the world. And this is kind of where the networking part of the system comes into play. So the groups here, I can go under groups and click on Manage, and that would bring me into the groups. Or I can always, of course, click on Network and Groups. Once I get into the groups, you can see that there are a ton of groups. And again, on just about everything here, right now there's 468 groups in BNI Connect. Now, some of them may be hidden or closed groups. But the one thing about BNI groups that makes it a little bit different than, LinkedIn or Yahoo or any of the other online groups, and even, Facebook and things like that, is that these groups must remain active. And by that, I mean if they don't make it, they have to make at least one comment or post every 90 days. Otherwise, we shut it down. And a lot of them are way more active than that. But if a group goes dormant for more than 90 days, they get a quick warning saying, hey, you better make a comment in here, otherwise we're going to close it down. And if not, it does get shut down permanently. So the nice thing about that is that you know that all of the groups in here have activity on them. Obviously, some are more active than others. Just looking at some of these here, we have cross-selling in India. So this is 661 members in India that are looking to do cross-chapter business in India. Here's one for property and development. Here's one for business opportunities. The BNI International Traders Group, cloud computing. There's also stuff for, different, positions in BNI. I know there's one for a growth coordinator group. There are some, leadership teams and membership committees that do their kind of, review and discussions rather than doing that in email. They do it here in a group in BNI Connect. Of course, you can go through and scroll through these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at a time, which means that you're going to go through about 100 pages or so. Or you can click on this magnifying glass, and that allows you to search the groups. You can either search by a keyword such as, what it is that you're interested in, or I can search by, a person's name, like let's say Dr. Meisner. And we can see how many groups were created by Dr. Meisner. And right now he's running, these 3 groups, and his wife, Beth Meisner, is running a group for the foundation. But I could see, for example, like this one right here, look at this. From the Founder Group has been active since 2011. 298 topics and 1,500 posts, and there's 4,000 members in that group. 4,000 members in this group. So that means I could go in, click on From the Founder. You can go through and review any of these discussions. For example, there's even one here. Introduce yourself. When you put a post and introduce yourself, basically 4,000 people get interested, or get introduced to you just by putting a post here. So I think that's pretty amazing. If I go back to the topics page, once you start talking with people, and what do I love about a BNI meeting? If somebody says something that you're very interested in, you can always click on their name or on their picture. Oh, sorry, just on their name. That will take you to their profile, and you can always connect with them there. And or if they're sharing their contact information. Finally, if you'd like to, you can also create groups. So if you are interested in moderating a discussion, you can click to Add Group and try your hand at leading a discussion for a discussion group. All right, so we are just about at the bottom of the hour. What I'd like to do is to open this up for any questions. Does anybody have any questions whatsoever? I'd love to answer those questions now. If you don't have any questions, that's okay too, but while you're thinking of any, just a quick note. This is being recorded. It will be made available in a couple of different places. The first place is going to be on our support site. So this button right here, this question mark, that will take you over to our support site. Under live and recorded webinars, you can review any of last month's webinars, of course, up here. There's also the Resource Center and plenty of other documentation and things like that. And a good referral for me is if you found something good in today's presentation or you like this format in general, please refer other members of your chapter, other people in your area to these webinars. Our next one is going to be tomorrow. And we're going to be talking about the member tools and reports. So we're actually going to go into some of these things up along the top, the operations and the reports, to see what kind of stuff is hidden under there and some other ways that BNI Connect can be helpful for you. All right, I'm not seeing any questions. So what I'm going to say is thank you guys so very much for being here with me today, and I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. In the meantime, happy connecting.